Hi, thank you for joining me today at Shaman Streams Gifts. And so we're going to be doing our fireside chat on the full story. And the full story is basically about the 22 major arcana of the tarot, and it focuses on the kind of the psychology behind the cards. People believe that the cards of the 22 major arcana represents the major archetypes of our lives, and this follows in a subconscious collective pattern that we all go through, whether they be experiences, situations, or just kind of evolution within our own selves. And so with this being said, this theory was mainly popularized by Carl Jung, and he really believed that this is something that every single person goes through, and that the cards really can relate to future and past and present events because of the psychology that they hold. So without further ado, we're going to get to the full story. With all his worldly possessions in one small pack, the fool travels, not knowing where he goes. So filled with visions, questions, wonder, and excitement is he, that he doesn't see the cliff that he is likely to fall over. At his heels, a small dog barks to warn him of a possible misstep. We wonder if the fool will learn to pay attention to where he's going before it's too late. Traveling on his way, the fool encounters a magician, skillful, self-confident, a powerful Magnus with an infinite halo floating above his head. The fool, mesmerized, hands over his bundled pack and stick to the magician. Raising his wand to the heaven, pointing his finger to the earth, the magician calls on all powers. Magically, the cloth of the pack unfolds as if magic reveals its contents. To the fool's eyes, it is as if the magician had created the future with a word. All the directions he can take are laid out before him. With these tools, the fool can create anything, make anything of his life. The cool, airy sword of intellect and communication, the fiery wand of passion and ambition, the overflowing chalice of love and emotions, and the solid pentacle of work, possessions, and body. We can only wonder if the magician created these tools or if they were already in the pack. Continuing his journey, the fool comes upon a beautiful and mysterious veiled lady, enthroned between two pillars and illuminated by the moon. She is the opposite of the magician, still where he was in motion, sitting where he stood. Sensing that she is a great seer, the fool lays out his sword, chalice, staff, and pentacle before her. The magician showed me these, but there are so many things I could do with them I can't decide, said the fool. The high priestess doesn't speak. Instead, the words would come to him, not from the outside, but from within. What do your instincts tell you? The fool reflects on that and understands he should do. Decision made, he rises to leave, thanking her. She replies, "We'll meet again when you're ready to travel the most secret path of all." Knowing what he will create with his tools, the fool strides forward, impatient to make his future a reality. This is when he comes upon the Empress. Her hair gold as wheat, wearing a crown of stars, she rests her back upon a throne surrounded by abundant, lush garden. Kneeling, the fool tells her story to her. Smiling a mother's smile, she gently gives him this advice. Like a newly planted grain or a newborn babe, a new life, a new relationship, a new creation is fragile. It requires patience and nurturing. It needs love and attention. Only this will bring it to fruition. Understanding at last that his creations will take time to develop, the fool thanks the Empress. As he continues, he wonders if she may be pregnant. The fool was given choices by the magician and decided on one with the high priestess. He learned to develop it thanks to the Empress. Now he must find a way to manage it. He approaches a great emperor seated on a stone throne. The fool is amazed by the way the emperor is instantly obeyed and how well his empire is run. Respectfully, he asks the emperor, how does he do this? The emperor answers, strong will and a solid foundation of laws and order. It's all very well to be imaginative, creative, instinctual, and patient. But to control, one must be alert, brave, and aggressive. Ready now to lead and direct, rather than to be led, the fool heads out with a new purpose. Having created a solid foundation on which to build his future, the fool is struck with a sudden fear. In panic, he heads into a temple, where he finds the Hierophant, a wise and holy man. The fool tells the Hierophant his fears and asks for guidance. The Hierophant says, "Either give up that which you fear to lose, so it no longer holds any power over you, or consider what you still have if your fear comes to pass. If you did lose all you built, you would still keep the experience and the knowledge that you gained up to this point. Also, if your community has traditions that you all share, then you will never lose that, even if circumstances force you apart. You can even pass such traditions on to your children and their children, connecting them with past generations." Hearing this, the fool feels his heart ease, and he takes a moment to thank the good Hierophant most profoundly. Stepping out of the sanctuary, he makes his way to meet his friends. The fool comes to a crossroad knowing exactly where he wants to go and what he wants to do. A flowering tree marks the path he wants to take, the one he's been planning on taking. But standing before a fruit tree making the other path is a woman. The fool has met and had relations with women before, some far more beautiful and alluring. But she is different. Seeing her, he feels as though he's just been shot in the heart with Cupid's arrow. It is clear that she feels the same about him. It's as if an angel above has introduced their souls to each other. Though it was his plan to follow the path of the flowering tree, the fool knows he dares not leave her behind. Like the fruit tree, she will fulfill him. She is his future. He chooses her, and together they head down a whole new road. The fool is close to completing what he set out to create long ago. But there's no more forward momentum. He feels as if he's fighting just to stay where he is. Walking along the shore, it is here that he comes across a charioteer, standing in a gold and silver chariot, his black and white steeds at rest. The fool remarks, "I feel unable to move forward. What should I do?" The charioteer says, "First you must armor yourself. Next you must focus on your goal. Where do you mean to go? What do you mean to do? Your steed keeps the wheels turning, but it is your control and direction of them that gets them to their destination." The fool asks, "What if someone or something gets in your way?" The charioteer replies, "You'll run them down. Your aim is victory, and to be victorious, you must have unwavering confidence in your cause." He thanks the warrior, but before he leaves, the warrior says to the fool, "One more thing you should keep in mind. Victory is not the end. It is the beginning. Remember that before you decide to enter into any contest." The fool, victorious over his enemies, is feeling arrogant, powerful, even vengeful. It is in this state that he crosses a maiden struggling with a lion. Running to help, he arrives in time to see her gently but firmly shut the lion's mouth. In fact, the beast, which seems so wild and fierce, is now completely at her command. Amazed, the fool asks her, "How did you do that?" She answers, "I asked the lion to do it, and it did it." The fool asks, "Why did it want to obey?" At that moment, the maiden meets the fool's eyes. He sees in her warm gentleness and heart so great that generosity seems as infinite as its willingness to understand. And that is when the fool understands exactly why the lion did her bidding. It wanted to connect to the higher energy. So too, she adds, are our passions. Let them run wild and they will do damage. But we can, with great fortitude, check and direct those passions. In doing so, we get so much more out of them and yet still save them. His rage quieted. The enlightened fool walks away knowing that it wasn't only the lion that was tamed that day by the maiden. After a long and busy lifetime, building, creating, loving, hating, fighting, compromising, falling, and succeeding, the fool feels a profound need to retreat. Every night at dusk, he heads out alone, traveling across the bare autumn landscape. He carries only a staff and a lantern. It is during these restless walks from dusk to dawn that his lantern illuminates animals, insects, flowers, and plants that only appear by moonlight or star. As these secret corners of the world are explored by him, he feels that he's also illuminating hidden areas of his mind. In a way, he has become the fool again. As in the beginning, he goes wherever inspiration leads him. The hermit's staff leads out before him now, and he carries a lantern, not a pack. The hermit is like the lantern, illuminated from within by all he is, capable of penetrating the darkness. From out of hiding comes the fool into the sunlight, as if being pulled up from some low, dark point on the wheel. It's time for change. Staff in hand, expecting nothing from the world. Then things seem to happen to him. Good things. Wandering by a water wheel, a woman offers him a drink in the golden chalice and urges him to keep the cup. As he wanders, he stops to watch a young man swinging a sword. When he expresses his admiration of the weapon, the young man insists that he takes it. When he comes upon a rich merchant sitting in a wagon, the man hands him a bag of money. It's as if everything good that he ever did in his life is being paid back to him threefold. All luck this day is his. The fool, looking for a new path, sits uncertain at crossroads. He notices a blind, wise woman listening to two brothers argue over inheritance. They have come to her for judgment. One brother has the whole inheritance, the other has nothing. The woman listens, then awards half of the rich brother's inheritance to the poor brother. You were fair, the fool remarks to the woman. Yes, I was, she answers. With only half the inheritance, the rich one will stop being so wasteful, and the poor one will have as much as he needs. The fool realizes that he spent his life achieving worldly ambitions while leaving his spiritual self to starve. It's no wonder that he feels so imbalanced. Thanking the woman, he heads out to restore equilibrium to his inner scales. The fool settles beneath a tree, intent on finding his spiritual self. There he stays for 9 days without eating, barely moving. On the 9th day, with no conscious thought of why, he climbs the tree and dangles from the branch upside down like a child. For a moment, he surrenders all that he is, wants, or knows, or cares about. Coins fall from his pocket as he gazes down at them, as he sees they are not as money, but only round bits of metal. He feels that his perspective of the world has completely changed, that this inverted position has allowed him between the physical and the spiritual world. Timeless as this moment of clarity seems, he realizes that it will not last. Very soon he must right himself, but when he does, things will be different. He will have to act on what he's learned. Leaving the tree from where he hung, the fool moves through a fallow field. The air is cold and wintry. The tree is bare. Before him, he sees a skeleton in black armor mounted on a white horse. He recognizes it as Death. As it stops before him, he asks, "Have I died?" Death answers, "Yes, in a way. You sacrificed your old world, your old self. Both are dead and gone. Mourning is natural, and you must deal with your loss before you can accept anything new. Keep in mind that the old leaves must wither and fly away from the tree's branches, leaving them bare before new leaves can appear." As Death rides away, he understands how great transformations start, by removing everything so something new has room to grow. The fool begins to wonder if he will finally find the new spirituality he's after. It occurs to him that so far he's been dealing with opposites. It's at this point he comes upon a winged figure standing with one foot in a brook, the other on a rock. The fool sees that the angel was mixing water and fire, blending them together in a completely different substance. "How can you mix fire and water?" the fool whispers. The angel says, "You must have the right vessels and use the right proportions." The fool asks, "Can this be done with all opposites?" "Indeed," the angel replies, "any opposites, fire and water, man and woman, can be made into a unified third. It's only a lack of will and disbelief in the possibility that keeps opposites opposite." The fool begins to understand that he is the one who is keeping his universe at odds, and material world and spiritual world separate. In him, the two can emerge. The fool comes to a foot of a mountain where a creature half goat, half god reigns. At his hooves, naked people engage in every indulgence imaginable. Sex, drugs, food, and drink. The closer the fool gets, the more he feels his own desires rising in him. I have given up all such desires, he yells at the devil. He is sure this is a test of his new spirituality, where he must prove that the temptations of the material world cannot sway him. The devil responds, all I am doing is bringing out what is already in you. Such feelings is nothing to fear, nothing to be ashamed of, or even to avoid. They are even useful for helping you in your quest for spirituality, though many try to pretend otherwise. The fool says, you say that even though these people are clearly enslaved to the material world. The devil replies, take another look. The fool looks and realizes that the chain collars are wide enough for them to easily slip over their heads. They can be free if they wish to be, the devil says, as he gestures upwards toward the peak of the mountain. Others who have used the same impulses to climb to the highest heights. If they had denied their desires, they'd never have gotten there. On hearing this, the fool sees that he has mistaken the devil. This is not a creature as evil as he thought, but of great power, the lowest and the highest, both of beast and God. It is the key to freedom and transcendence. As the fool leaves the devil, he comes upon a tower. The fool helped build this tower back when it was the most important thing to him, was making his mark on the world. Inside the tower at the top, arrogant men live, convinced of their rightness. Seeing the tower again was like seeing himself back in a time when he thought he was superior, when in fact he was no such thing. To his astonishment, a bolt of lightning strikes the tower, sending its residents leaping out. In a moment, it's all over. The towers rumble, only rocks remain. Shaken to the core, the fool experiences profound fear and disbelief. Here and now, he has done what was the hardest. He destroyed the lies of his life. What's left of the foundations of truth. On this, he can rebuild himself. Where the tower once stood, the fool sits on cold stone and gazes up at the night sky, wishing for some kind of guidance. That is when he notices a beautiful girl with 2 water urns, kneeling by a pool of water illuminated with reflected starlight. She empties the urn, one into the pool and one on the thirsty ground. What are you doing? He asks her. She looks up at him. I am refilling this pool, so that those who are thirsty may drink. I am also watering the earth, so that more fruit trees will grow to feed those who are hungry. Come, sate your hunger and quench your thirst. The fool eats some fruit from the tree. Then he kneels by her and drinks from the pond. Both help to heal his wounded heart. Looking up at the stars, the girl says, if you keep one in sight, it can guide you to your destination, no matter how far away it is. Follow your star and have hope. For the first time in his life, he has a guiding light to show him the way. Distant as it is, it restores his faith. Following the star, the fool travels through the night. The full moon rises, illuminating for him a watery path. He passes under the moon between 2 ancient pillars. When he was in the presence of the high priestess, he saw hints of the dark land through the sheer veil draped behind her throne. As he hung from the tree, he felt himself between the physical world and this one. Here are the mysteries he sought. The darkest mysteries, ones that have to do with the most primal and ancient powers. The path the fool was walking on is now a river, and he stands hip deep in the water. The fool realizes he only has 2 choices. He can lose himself in the illusion, or he can get into the boat and trust himself to the river and the moon. The powers of the unconscious will at least take him somewhere. As the waters sweep him away, moonlight shows his path, and he feels the high priestess approve in his eyes. The fool wakes at dawn to find that the river has deposited him in a serene pool. A child's laughter attracts his attention, and he sees a little boy on a small white pony in the garden. Come, says the little boy, leaping off the pony. Come see. The child proceeds to take the fool's hand and ask questions of the fool, simple but profound ones like, why is the sky blue? At one point, the fool stops, blinking up at the sun so large and golden overhead. He finds himself smiling, wider and brighter than he has in a very long time. This is the first time he has been simply and purely happy. His mind feels illuminated, his soul's light, and it's all thanks to this child with simple question, games, and songs. "Who are you?" the fool asks the child at last. The child smiles, and at this he says, "I'm the new you." And the words fill the fool with warmth and energy. He comes to realize that this garden, the sun above, the child, all exists within him. He just met his own inner light. As the fool leaves the garden, he feels that he is near the end of his journey. He gazes up and sees above him a fiery angel, beautiful and terrible. The angelic figure confirms, "You have only one last step on your journey. You cannot take that step until you lay your past to rest." The fool responds, "Lay to rest? I thought I left it all behind me." The angel observes, "There is no way to leave the past behind. Each steps wear down the shoe just a little bit, and so shapes the next step you take, and the next and the next. Your past is always under your feet. You cannot hide from it, run from it, or rid yourself of it. You can face it and come to terms with it. Are you willing to do that?" The angel hands the fool a small trumpet. The fool knows that there are memories he has a hard time looking back on, as they make him feel guilty, ashamed, or angry. He blows the trumpet. The earth cracks open under the fool's feet, and the spirits of his past selves rise up. They were him once upon a time, but not now. Even as he realizes this, he finds himself forgiving those past selves, and in turn, that they forgive him for ignoring their lessons that they had to teach him. As he reaches an understanding with them, they start to rise up and float away, vanishing into the sky. He is free of ill feelings, reborn and living in the present day. The fool turns to take the final step on his final path, and he finds that he is right back where he started, at the edge of the same cliff he almost stepped over when he was young and foolish. Now he sees that while he thought he could separate body, mind, in the end it's all about the self, mind, body, past, future, the individual, and the world. All one, including the fool and the mystic, who are both doorways to the secrets of the universe. With a knowing smile, the fool takes the final step right off the cliff and soars. Higher and higher, into the whole world is his to see. There he dances surrounded by the stars, at one with the universe. Ending, in a sense, where he began. Beginning again at the end. The world turns and the fool's journey is complete. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great evening.